The Mates and Dates program in schools is an ACC program for children 13 years and up. Now, it's always been sold as a program around healthy relationships, the harms of drugs and alcohol, and keeping safe together. But what we've found is that it is linked closely to the Ministry of Education's sexuality and gender education curriculum, with a push on issues such as identity, gender, and sexuality, including the use of the flawed and misleading genderbread person. Yep. Check out all those labels they're indoctrinating your children with: genderqueer, androgynous, bisexual. In fact, see down the bottom there, it's breaking through the binary. And now you can find out more about just what the government wants to indoctrinate your children with in the area of sexuality and relationships with our fact sheet. It's free from our website and it's an eye opener. And parents just simply aren't aware, but we are exposing what the curriculum is. Now, we were contacted by a mum concerned by what her 13-year-old told her after sitting through just one class of Mates and Dates. Let's check it out. Well, Mum, really thank you for your time. Can you just tell us how was the program sold to you?
Okay, so last month, an email was sent home just advising the parents that the school was going to run a Mates and Dates program for the Year 9 students, and that it was just about healthy relationships.
Mm.
And I did a quick Google search and understood it was an ACC program for preventing harm in relationships. And I didn't look into it much further, but from what the school told me, there was no mention of any gender ideology at that time.
No, it tends to be more sold around the issue of consent, isn't it? And just
Yeah,
safety in relationships.
yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so there was no red flags for you for your, 13-year-old daughter?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I told her that I'd received this email and just talked to mum about, what you learn. And so she came home from school last week and said, "Hey, mum, we had Mates and Dates today, and it was all LGBT stuff." And it sounded like that was just the focus of the lesson.
Mm.
And so we talked about it. There were two women presenting, and a few of the points that really stood out to me is that the children were told that gender and biological sex are not necessarily the same thing,
Mm.
that somebody's genitals do not indicate what their gender is. They asked the kids, what is the difference between a female and a woman? And my daughter put her hand up and she thought she knew the answer. She said a female could be any age, but a woman is an adult. And so then she was corrected. So a woman could be a female, or a woman could be a male who feels that they are a woman.
Mm.
And so women really consist of biological females and males,
Mm.
just depending on how you feel and how you identify.
So
Um,
classic gender theory as pushed by Ministry of Health as well, and even the midwives want to go down this track. So,
yeah,
and this is 13-year-olds, isn't it?
yeah, that's right. Um, she said that there was only one child in the class that was outspoken enough to say, "Oh, but what about this?" or, somewhat disagree with the lesson. But she said, every time that person spoke up, the kids rolled their eyes.
Mm.
Um, and kids really want to fit in. They don't want to stand out. And so I know that, my daughter, she couldn't put her hand up and say, I mean, she could have, but she didn't have the strength to do that, or really to know what to say.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, so another thing that was told to the kids, one of the women said that if a girl, if she wants, she can take testosterone, and that will help her to develop more male characteristics. And there was
Right.
no mention of the effects being irreversible and harmful.
Mm.
Um, and so they were also told about non-binary and intersex. So intersex is a developmental condition.
Mm.
It's very rare, but it was explained to the children as if it was just a normal variation of gender, like they've got
Yeah.
male, female, and intersex. And this one child said, but isn't that very rare? And he was corrected and told, actually, no, it's not rare. It's much more common than we realize.
So you said he, so it was both boys and girls in this class discussing these
Yeah,
topics.
yeah.
And was there mention of puberty blockers?
No, I did ask, and
Mm,
she didn't say that.
okay. So was your daughter upset by all of this?
No, she was, I guess,
Good.
interested in it all.
Mm.
And I spoke to her about, look, how about do you think I should come and sit in the class? I mean, to be honest, I don't think they would probably let me.
No child wants
And
that.
yeah. And then we decided this morning that, look, give this note to your teacher to say that you're not going to attend the class. And even though I trust, I believe that, that her beliefs align with what we have taught her, and I'm not scared of what she hears, but I feel like it's important as a parent to make that stand and say, hey, this is not actually acceptable for my child.
Mm.
And so she understood that, and so I've pulled her from the class today.
And it certainly seems like the way Mates and Dates is presented is different to what actually is being taught through the program. It's very subtle, but it is gender ideology being pushed, isn't it?
That's right. And so I did email the principal about it and
Yeah.
outlined all my concerns. And he got back to me quite quickly with a very long email, and he, acknowledged all my concerns. He basically said that what they're teaching aligns with the Ministry of Education curriculum,
Yep.
and that they're obliged to deliver that.
Yep.
He appreciated that it was challenging material. I mean, I have a problem with that word challenging
Fictional
because,
would be a better word, but anyway.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I haven't replied again. I'm not sure what to say. But I feel annoyed, but I feel quite powerless, because I'm just, from the teacher or from his perspective, I'm probably just an annoying parent. I'm one voice who's not happy. And, who can you speak to? Because a lot of people go along with this now. He said the program's been delivered for 8 years. And it really wasn't, the children were told, if you don't feel comfortable or if you don't feel safe, you can leave the class. But they presented this information as if it was truth. It wasn't presented as a theory, and they weren't given alternative viewpoints to consider. It was taught to them as, this is the truth, and if you don't feel comfortable, then you can leave.
Yeah.
Um,
So how
so
did your daughter respond when you said, "Oh, you don't need to attend the class. I'm going to withdraw you."
she wanted to attend. She said,
Mm,
yeah, but I want to hear it, I want to take it all in. And
mm,
so I could understand that, because young people are curious and they don't want to be different. They want to be with their peers, and they don't want to stand out as
yeah.
being, having strange, old-fashioned beliefs. But she really understood this morning when I said it's more about letting the school know that we don't tolerate this. But I mean, she's got health throughout her entire curriculum, and I don't know what they're going to be teaching in that health class. It's probably all going to be very similar to this.
Yeah, it won't be just Mates and Dates that this ideology is being pushed, but you're right. It is very hard for our young people, and I guess you highlight the need that we need to talk to our children about this stuff in advance, and actually, speak, tell them the truth, and so that they can push back and feel confident as they do push back. Just so, just finally, what's your advice to parents? Because this has sort of snuck up on you, and what would you say to other mums and dads?
I would say it's really important to form your beliefs. Don't just leave it to the school, and don't trust the Ministry of Education for feeding your children good education. You really need to establish what your values are, and it's our responsibility as parents to teach our children. We don't just send them to be schooled to be brainwashed. I don't really have the option of pulling her out of school altogether or changing schools. But yeah, I just think also, to encourage our children to be confident to speak up, because they will look back one day and they'll think, I wish I had spoken up. It was just school, and there are other children in the class that probably feel the same way, but they just are worried, what will their peers think? So the more children that can just say, hey, well, what about this? Or I don't agree with this, that it'll encourage other students as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we, when we were chatting before we started recording, I said, had you read our fact sheet? I think a lot of parents are totally unaware of what's actually in the curriculum, what's being pushed through by Ministry of Education and outside groups. So I think forewarning parents is a key, so that parents can forewarn their kids and get some truth into them before they go to school and are exposed to these programs. So look, thank you for speaking up, because parents are starting to speak up and are starting to push back. And I think, as you say, you feel isolated and you're the only one doing it, but in fact you are a part of a growing group of parents who are really concerned. And now the good news is that professionals are starting to speak up, academics, and also, for example, the UK, NHS has actually started to speak up and say, hang on, this is a phase that kids go through, we shouldn't be ramming it down. So there is progress, but we need to continue to push back, eh?
And I've seen a lot of videos on young people who have bought into this, and they have had life-changing surgeries, and then a few years down the line they regret it, and they are just totally broken as a person, because they can't take time back. And there are more and more stories coming out.
Yep, detransitioners. Hey, Mum, thank you for your time. Hopefully, for you speaking up, you've given some strength and encouragement to other parents to check what's being taught in their schools. And unfortunately, we do need to warn parents about mates and dates. Well-intentioned program, but it has gone truly down the gender ideology program being indoctrinated into our kids. So we warn parents about that.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.